I was with a good buddy of mine, Jack Osborne. Yep. And I was
we just talked about
Jack. Jack's a great dude.
We were literally on
like 2 hours ago.
2 hours ago,
really?
because Jack texted Demo that he wanted Demo to wish
happy birthday to his dad.
Ozzy Osbourne. And so Demo was like, "Oh, got it." And they stacked up pallets of fucking water, and Demo ran through it. He's like, "Yeah, we sent it." And then 10 minutes later, Ozzy sent a video back. He's like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah. Dude, Ozzy's a maniac. Like,
I tell the Mars Rover thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will tell that story.
What the fuck?
What's happening?
Ozzy, so let me tell you an FBI agent story about my friend Ozzy Osbourne that involves an astronaut.
I'll tell them both quickly. So basically,
no, take your time. Please elaborate in fucking detail.
I don't know if you've looked at the duration, the watch time of this podcast so far, but we got time.
Okay. So Jack's like, "Hey, dude," and I'd been friends with Jack. Actually, Jack and I were roommates. I moved into his guest house for like, I don't know, a year and a half, and lived at his guest house. Great guy.
A great shooter too.
Great guy.
Great
guy. I mean, dude, Jack can tell you some stories. I mean, Jack was, partying at like 14 years old on Sunset with Paris Hilton, and like, dude, he's got some crazy stories. He put it this way: he was in rehab at 18, literally in rehab at 18. But okay, so Jack's like, "Hey, dude, you wanna come, guard Ozzy or my dad and I for the show that they were doing called the World Detour." Which I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a great show on Nat Geo, I believe. Don't quote me on it. Maybe Discovery, I don't remember. And basically it was just them it's just Jack and Ozzy driving around, basically learning history and kind of doing cool stuff. I don't know how else to describe it. And Ozzy, by the way, Ozzy is a huge military history fanatic, by the way. Like, Ozzy loves military history. I remember showing up one time, Ozzy opens the door, and he's like, "Hey, I'm watching Vietnam in HD."
That's a good impersonation.
I'm watching.
Chase, pull up text.
He's like, "I'm watching Vietnam in HD," and we go inside, and Jack and I watch freaking Vietnam in HD for like 4 hours with Ozzy, and like he knew his stuff. But anyways, so
that's amazing.
I was like, "Sure, dude, I'll come," and I was doing bodyguarding at the time.
I'd come too.
So now I'm bodyguarding. I'm bodyguarding Jack, dude, like. I'm so, dude, you should absolutely have Jack on the show. He can tell you stories.
100%.
Blow your mind apart.
Jack and Ozzy, more than welcome on.
White Sabbath.
White Sabbath. So basically, freaking I'll tell the Mars one because it's pretty crazy. So
what
the guy who ran
just stop.
The guy who what's it called? Houston, we have a problem. NASA. The guy who ran NASA at Houston, I guess, was a huge Black Sabbath fan. So somehow they got in contact.
I thought you were going to say Nazi.
But he's
also that. Yeah. Operation Paperclip was a motherfucker.
That's more on the covert. So.
Then you names fucking convention centers after.
So he invites Ozzy and Jack to Houston to the NASA, whatever the Space Center. I think it's called the NASA Space Center down there. Basically, carte blanche, dude. Do whatever you want and film it. So they do all kinds of stuff. We got a great tour. Jack and I literally talked to an astronaut for like 2 hours. It was awesome. It was I learned a lot. Well, one of the things they had Ozzy do was drive the Mars Rover, and I'm not joking. They put Ozzy Osbourne in control of the Mars Rover.
On Mars?
No.
Sort of.
He was.
Oh, no. It's here, right? So basically...
I didn't know if it was just like remotely piloting.
No.
So, like a ship.
Sweet jump.
So, by the way, dude, you say that, you're joking right now, but you're not.
Dukes of Mars.
So I believe it was called the Mars Rover. If it wasn't, then
that's if it's
but it's this vehicle built for Mars. It's not it's a drivable. It's actually more like, and we can look it up on the episode, or you guys can, but it's basically like the Mars truck. It was a truck designed for Mars when humans are there.
Oh,
and they basically
not like the Curiosity.
No, not
like
Curiosity. I think they called it the Mars Rover.
You sit it and drive it.
Yeah, but it's actually like an SUV, Mars SUV. I forget what the name was. And they basically had built, outside, they'd built this, 4 football field size area that had red dust and rocks, and it looks like Mars. And obviously, you know, they built it. So they put Ozzy in there. Now the best part is I'm not in the vehicle. In the vehicle is like the guy who knew the vehicle the best, Ozzy and Jack, right? They're all mic'd up. We're, you know, 200 yards away.
And they said they could go over anything.
And I'm standing with like 6 engineer straight up nerds from NASA, right? That like built the thing, and the producer and, you know, a couple other people. And we're listening. We can hear everything. And it's like, yeah, so this vehicle is incapable of getting stuck. All right, incapable.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
And that's the thing, is this whole sequence was like it was planned. I was there, dude. This sequence was not planned. They were like, it's like the unsinkable Molly Brown. This vehicle cannot get stuck, etc. It's got 6 wheels. Each one's independent suspension. Each one has its own front and reverse, and they're going on about what an engineering marvel this vehicle is, right? And so I can just picture Ozzy's like, okay, challenge accepted. Right? And these engineers are like whispering, yeah, he's gonna, you know, there's nothing, it's unstoppable, it's the best thing ever. And they're just whispering in the background. So they let, and that guy drives around a little bit, then they give the controls for Ozzy. I shit you not. For whatever fucking reason, these guys put in this area a rock as big as this fucking table. Just in the middle of the fucking thing. Now, Ozzy starts driving about 100 yards away from it.
How fast does this thing go?
Not fast, but not
right?
slow. You know, it's like maybe 15 miles an hour.
Bicycle speed.
Fast enough for you to know where this is going.
And I'm watching it drive, and it just occurs to me, he's going to head straight for that fucking rock, right? Now, it's also pretty obvious to me that no one had ever headed straight for that rock, right? It's there as like, hey, that's an obstacle, obviously drive around it, right? No one's like, that rock is not there for you to drive over, right? It's obviously that everyone goes around it. You would obviously go around it. Well, you tell Ozzy that thing can go over anything, he's gonna freaking go over anything. So he's driving straight at it. And it occurs to me, I'm like, oh shit, this is not gonna work out well. The engineers in behind me, as it gets about 50 yards away, are like, he's not. No. And I'm like, oh, yes, he is. Dude, he hits that thing straight on. It starts going up, and you just start hearing the whispering, oh, it'll be fine. Yeah, oh, this is going to take that. No one's ever went over that before. Yeah, but it's designed for it, blah, 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 blah. And he freaking goes up on it, and then he gets on top of it, and then nothing. And dude, the panic starts very slowly. It's like one engineer going, it'll be off in a second. It'll be off in a few seconds, right? And it just starts building. And like over the course of a minute, you just hear these engineers go from like absolute confidence to absolute panic. They're like, oh my God. You're like, no way did he like, and by the way, I'm missing a piece I should have said in the beginning. In the beginning, I forget how much, but it was like a crazy amount of money, like $5 billion that they had spent on this vehicle, right? It was an insane
GDP of a small country.
Dude, it was insane.
Sounds about right.
It was
That sounds about government.
It was an obscene amount of money, right? And dude, these guys just start freaking out. He's on it for, I don't know. I just have to watch the episode. He's on it for like 2 minutes and ain't moving at all. And it's this huge boulder. And it looks ridiculous. It's just like balanced on top of it.
Meanwhile, one of the Doge guys is watching this podcast, just like, Mars truck.
No go, right? And so long story short, they finally freaking, he has to give control over to the engineer, and that guy like adjusts the pressure, deflates the time. I mean, it literally was on there for like 3 minutes, and finally he got it off. But dude, like Ozzy stuck the Mars freaking rover, no doubt about it. I watched it happen. It was a great episode, dude. You got to see it. So the FBI story, real quick. Is,
I like that was a secondary.
Yeah, well, that was
the
all
ones we have.
That was all in build-up, right? All right, so the FBI story is we're at the FBI. So somehow Jack and the producers convinced them to go to the FBI. Again, random. So I'm at the FBI Academy again.
This is what, like Quantico?
Yeah, Quantico,
okay.
yeah. And
We found out
when you're friends with certain people.
Yeah, you can go anywhere. World's your oyster. So
redacted.
we're at the FBI Academy, and they're doing all this different stuff. They showed some history stuff, the guns, all this, and now we're at the which is pretty famous, which is the FBI's quote unquote Hogan's Alley, right? So it's like their little tactical training portion, which is very world renowned, right? And so their shooting instructor this guy starts doing this briefing, and he's like, yeah, so, this is our Hogan's Alley. Basically, they were showing like the FBI's training process, right? And they start saying like, okay, so this is our Hogan's Alley. It's very famous, and this is like the hardest part of the shooting qual for the FBI, which is true, or at least I'm told. And then he's like, and this is our lead shooting instructor. Now here's a huge mistake that he made. He's like, this is our leading shooting instructor. He is the best shooter at the FBI. Like, he's the lead shooting instructor. Nobody could beat him. He's just amazing. And I'm like,
And Ozzy Osbourne beat him.
no. So then they go. No. So then he goes. No, you're not. You're not far off. So then they go. Oh, no. So then they go. Who here? Now we're going to do a little bit of training. Who here wants to volunteer? Well, it's Jack and Ozzy are the only two people on the show. So Ozzy's like, Jack. So I
want to shoot the big gun.
It was pretty obvious to me that no one on the show briefed the FBI that Jack is a great shooter.
Oh,
really? He's a really good shooter.
I've shot with Jack a million times. In fact, Jack and I, that's how we met. We met shooting on the range. So Jack is a really legit shooter. He's also really good at jiu-jitsu, right? So,
and to give reference, when you're a decent shot, how many rounds have you probably shot in your...
Me? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I literally used to shoot 1,000 rounds a day. That's no joke. When it was free. when it was free.
Yeah. That is the big indicator. Is free. A certain time period of his life.
Free
it was
for me.
1,000 rounds a day.
I used to shoot 1,000 rounds a day. Yeah, that's true. And
to be fair, I'd rather spend the money as a taxpayer making sure you can train with free ammo than $5 billion on a truck that gets stuck on a rock.
Ozzy Osbourne crashes into a rock. I love. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I love Crazy Train. But
I don't want him driving the Mars Rover. If they were smart over the episode, they should have played Crazy Train over the freaking thing. They could have got the license. Come on. So basically, it was obvious to me that no one told the FBI that Jack is like a really good shooter. So, Jack's like, I'll do it. And I mean, dude, if you could have seen it's on camera, but the FBI, the agent that was like the shooting instructors, dude, he was just so confident. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this Hollywood, music royalty rich kid, I'm going to smoke this guy. He's like, so they get Sims pistols, Sims Glocks, right? Oh. And they're doing 4, again, I got to watch the episode, I don't remember exactly, but I'm sitting there, here's the critical part.
For the sake of the audience, simunition, like Sim pistols.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So it's I believe they were using Glock 19s, if I remember correctly, it was either Sims or FTX for its force, I don't remember. But it's basically shooting a plastic paint bullet, for lack of a term. So the gun
and they fucking
hurt. And they hurt.
More than a paintball.
They do hurt.
Yeah.
But they function, it's a real gun, just has a Sims barrel, and obviously Sims bullets, right? And which have it's a unique casing, but it's a plastic bullet with paint in the plastic, and or a variation depending on the brand. So they get the gun, and I'm with the lead producer, and I just like see this, and I based everything. First of all, I knew how good Jack was, but I saw the FBI dude, his overconfidence. And I just went to the producer and I go, mark my words, Jack's going to beat this guy. And they set up 4 drills, and I don't even remember what they are. They do the first one. Dude, out of 4 drills, again, clock the show for accuracy. From what I remember of the 4 drills, Jack won, I believe, 3 out of the 4. And the one, if I'm not mistaken, that the FBI agent won, he cheated.
You're so mad.
How'd he cheat?
He shot
I'm trying to remember, but he did something that wasn't in the rules. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, I don't remember what it was,
Yeah,
but I just
pop tag.
remember watching it and being like, that wasn't in the rules, right? But this, again, the one he won, after he lost, then he started getting panicking and worried, and then he started cheating. But the other best part is, one of the 4 drills, I think on one of the ones he lost, the FBI agent shot the cameraman.
What?
Yeah, with the Sims bullet.
Pulled a regular
But
Alec Baldwin.
maybe he was a little bit.
both of them to go, whoa.
Maybe he was a little. Hey, maybe he was a little bit. Maybe he was a little bit rusty.
Wait. Good.
Dear God.
How did he shoot the cameraman?
He missed Jack, went wide, and shot the cameraman. But yeah, so
Super easy when you have a gun.
Jack crushed him in the drills. And again, I don't even remember exactly what they are, but Jack crushed him. And I was like, dude, this guy had no idea what he was getting into. Dude, Jack trains a lot, so it was pretty funny. But that was my. I mean, look, man, it comes down to, it's like you know, you're talking law enforcement, federal law enforcement. You know, anywhere. In my experience, it's like, dude. You got to be humble, and just because you got 3 letters behind your name, or just because you were at a certain unit or agency or whatever, dude, it doesn't make you better than anyone else. You know what I mean? Every case, every person, every situation is unique and individual. And dude, there are good people in, you know, the higher you get to in the more prestigious units or 3-letter places, the less bad people there are. But there's still bad people. There's good people and bad people at every unit, every agency, you know, whatever. And just because you're in a place that maybe has an elite, you know, name or title or image, it doesn't make you better than everyone else. And anyone can beat you, and there's someone always better.